Okay, so I'm going to try to talk about profiling PHP applications. So the first question that comes to mind is, who likes slow applications? Yeah? Yeah, okay, I get it. We get them sometimes, but when we talk about slow applications, is the only thing we want faster execution time, or do we want to reduce resource usage? Do we want more requests per minute? What do we want? Do we combine all of them together to get an overall better result from our application? And then usually this happens, and that's the time we start profiling. So your server is blowing up something. It already went away, didn't respond anymore. Everything is red. The phone is turning red. Usually that's when we start profiling. So first, hi, I'm Ike. I'm Black Ike Eagle on Twitter, you can read that. I do some development and some operations at an e-commerce agency called Studio Emma. Should not forget, it's in Belgium. And we do mostly Magento and Pimcore. Yeah. That's about it. So what is profiling? The most important thing is we catch the characteristics of the application to get the performance of it, and the goal is to get an optimization in the end, or optimize our application to make it better, faster, less resource hungry. So what do we gain from the profiling? Where is something using a lot of memory, being slow, being whatever? What is it that is consuming much time or doing too many calls, doing whatever we don't want? And how much? Usually you get the question, why? My application is fast, it works fine in development. So why would I do profiling? First, define fast. And in development, it might not get the same amount of traffic as in production. So maybe it's all fast in development, but will break down in production. So can it handle a burst of traffic, a burst of executions? Will it be impacted by something external? The optimization we can do is not only beneficial for only speed and resources, because the more optimization we can do, it will also reduce the cost of our application overall. So if we get more traffic, the less it costs, probably the more happy the customer will be. Most of the time you also get this, yeah, we don't need a profiler, I already know where the problem is. Some applications, it might be trivial where the problem is, but it's not always that. So no, that's kind of shooting in the dark, so you're guessing where the problem might be, but you could be completely wrong where the issue can be found. So we have some points of interest we want to look at while we are profiling. First of all, we have the execution time, so that's the total time it takes to get from start to finish. We also want to know the CPU time, so when your application takes 10 seconds to run, it could be that it's only 1 second CPU time. It doesn't necessarily mean that all the time is in your CPU. We also want to know if the memory usage or other resource usage is within our predefined constraints. This one could also be problematic, so we want to know if our application is creating a lot of disk I/O. The network time can be interesting, and we can have external delays, and that we can usually find out while profiling. So how can we profile? We can use PHP itself. Okay, we can get something, but it's not really profiling. We get some time, whatever that means. First one comes to mind is Xdebug. Everybody probably knows Xdebug for debugging, but Xdebug can also do some profiling. You know it's a PHP extension, you have some configuration to do to get it set up, and you need an external tool to analyze the results you get from the profiling. So you have to add in your xdebug.ini that you enable the profiler, you want to output it somewhere and give it some name you can recognize. In this example, it's just a timestamp. So it's, if you do the directory listing, it's chronological. Then you need an external tool, usually QCacheGrind or KCacheGrind or WebCacheGrind, whatever cache grind tool you can find. But there are some limitations. If I remember correctly, QCacheGrind has a limit of 500 calls it will display. So if there is more than 500, it probably won't show up in your analysis tool. And it can be a bit daunting to use and to understand what's going on. So it's hard. For a more simple application, it's usually doable. But Xdebug also introduces a lot of overhead itself, so might not be the best for the job. Then we have another known, or maybe known, profiling tool, XHProf. It exists for a while already. These days, with PHP 7, you can do it with the Tideways PHP extension. There is also some configuration, and personally, I use XHUI to do the visualization of the profiles and not what XHProf had in the past as a default view. So you also have to enable the Tideways extension. And I prepend manually some PHP file, where we detect if the extension is loaded and we do some profiling. This is not a complete PHP file. I can point you to it if you want to see it later. So there we get a, is this clear enough, or, yeah. We get some XHUI dashboard, and once we get profiles in, we see them coming with what the URL was and the date. If you go deeper, you first get some information, what is consuming. So you get an overview of what is consuming a lot of time, what was using a lot of memory initially, and you can also get the function list to see what was going on. It's not very obvious already, but I hope it will get clearer soon. Personally, I find this flame graph feature of XHUE very useful to find out where the potential issues are located in my application. So this is a completely local setup, and with the prepended PHP file, it profiles everything. I don't have to do anything to make it profile. It just profiles every web request, every command line script I execute within that environment will be profiled. So it's very easy to use. It's not so fancy and it's growing old, but it still does the job very good for me. You have other alternatives to use. So you have Tideways itself. So first example was we use it as an XHProf drop-in replacement. And you have Tideways, the SaaS edition, well, the product they are selling. So it's also with this. With the same extension, we can use it. And then that uses an agent or a daemon to communicate your profile or your application information to their SaaS. An additional interesting feature of Tideways is that it has APM functionality, so you can use this in production. So it has a nice dashboard. This is actually the APM view. And then you have to use an extension, a browser extension, to manually trigger a profile. So it will not profile by default everything. You have to trigger it manually. If you want to do it on the command line, you also have to add the Tideways command line and then your command, so it will be profiled and sent to the SaaS. You get some nice overview of what happened, how long things take, and what happens within. This is the same as the function calls, what has taken the longest time. And I forgot what it is. Yeah, these are the calls. The previous one was a summary. This is the calls. So it's more than a profiler. It's still very easy to use. I kind of took this as a drawback, but it's a positive thing also. So it starts from trial. You get a full feature set for a 30-day trial, and you go to a paying subscription afterwards, if you like it, so that's nice. And you could also use Blackfire. Probably most know Blackfire already. So it's very similar in setup to Tideways. It uses a very similar configuration. It has a freemium model, which I'm not so fond of, because if you really want to be able to analyze your results, you probably will have to pay to make it give you the real results. You get limited information in the free version. So it is the same approach. You have a browser extension or use the Blackfire tool to run your commands, and you get some information. It's also relatively easy to use, but the problem, my personal problem with it is that it's freemium. So if you want to see what it actually can do, you have to pay and see what it gets. So only the wall time and memory usage are in the free version. So once you want to know how much CPU usage, how much I/O, how much network usage it does, you should switch to the full version and just pay for it. The most the most important part here is pick one and learn one. Don't, or yeah, maybe if you have to analyze for your company or whatever, you can try to learn them all and see what fits your usage best. So how will we further approach profiling of our applications? What do we want to check first? First, we want to know what the slow things are. This you can already do in development. You can just make some script that triggers all your pages, or a set of interesting pages that you think will be interesting for the general public, that you want to make sure that they are performing within some margin. So yeah, I kind of said this. You want to profile what will be popular in your application. So if you do e-commerce, search might be an interesting part to optimize, because usually a lot of people will use it, and if it's slow, they just go away. So you don't want that. And application initialization is one thing that's usually overlooked, but it can be very slow, trust me. I can give you an example of application initialization. We had some problem with Magento. Yeah, it's probably normal, but what our problem was, we saw, I might have to mention we use New Relic also. So we saw something popping up in New Relic like composer autoload include file consumes the most of the time of the request. What? This is not normal. So we had to search what happened. So we did some profiling on it, and indeed, composer autoload include file was always consuming most of the time. So, but in Magento, there are so very much, a very big amount of objects that have to be instantiated. So, yeah, probably possible. And then we found out that it also generated a lot of disk I/O, which was not something we were expecting. So at that point, we found out that the opcache module was installed, but still had the default settings, which are too small. Once we increased the allowed memory usage of opcache, our problem was gone, and our application initialization was a lot better. So that's one interesting example. So when you're analyzing the profile, you are going to search for the hot paths. Usually in most of the tools, it's going to indicate it with something reddish, where the most calls are, where the most time is spent, or maybe the most memory is used. You try to fix it, and in the end, it should be A-OK. So I prepared some demo. Let's see if that will work. Yeah, wrong side. Yeah, okay. So this is based, I made it a very simple, so initially we can follow the path very easily, just to demonstrate things. So I took something we encountered a few months, maybe a year ago, in an application where suddenly the client changes his mind about how some feature has to work, and we encountered really big problems. So first, I'm going to show there is something in there already. So I'm using XHUE. There's nothing useful in it here because it's actually commands in the demo. So first, I made it create coins. It's something similar that was found in the original application. So they had some credit system, coin system, and the coins had a certain value. And they explained to us, yeah, usually when we sell something, it will be 1 coin, and 1 coin will always be, for example, 100 euros. And usually there will be someone buying a lot of coins and distributing them to their users of their company, okay? So yeah, what happens? Yeah, we create coins, and we have 1,000 coins, yay. Of course, the profiling came afterwards, but let's just see what it does. I did some fake things in this to make it more realistically. So let's pretend our initialization is still the biggest part. This is just sleep, just to make it pretend to be big initialization. So yeah, seems okay. Everything is reasonable. It works fine. So you can also see it's relatively simple, just for the sake of demoing things, or initially demoing things. And then there was a change. Well, yeah, they could spend coins, but well, we don't have to go into that. We'll see later where the problem lies there. So then it was like another part of that organization said, oh no, it's too complex, all our prices are different, and no, let's just make coins with a value of €1. So we can say it's 60 coins, it's 100 coins, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's create some. So the first big customer tries to buy 100,000 coins, and it takes like forever. And initially, we don't really know what's going on. So then we got into profiling again, and it went from 1 second to 14 seconds. Wow, that's nice. So, what's happening here? PDO statement execute is like called 100,000 times. Nice. That's, yeah.
As expected.
Yeah, the demo works as expected, yeah, indeed. So, our initialization is like small now, and we already know it takes 1 second. So, what? Create and store coins. What did we do there? So we do some generation, and then we store them, and that's like a disaster. So what happened here is, I have to open the correct file, of course. So we're creating something. This is semi-fake, so we are interested in the create and store coins. Let's not break it. So we have the coin service, and we do create and store coins. Okay, generate coins does something. It calls create coin object. So maybe that's not really what we want to do. And then it stores coins. So this is taken from not really, and it was a similar approach what was taken in the application I'm extracted this from. So yeah, that's not really great. So and then we also go and call get unspent coins. So we do another select and going to loop over everything and create new objects. So the point is here that you can do very stupid things. And initially, if you looked at the original request, it's reasonably okay. But now, since the requirement changes, it's a complete disaster. But we had also another problem. They want to spend use coins. So initially they said, oh yeah, we want to use 1 coin. We will have 1 coin used. Okay, this is not really fast, but it's acceptable. So within their expectations, the result was acceptable. Sorry. Okay, 4 seconds might not be really acceptable, but we'll get to it. We already will see. So you see, I usually go to the flame graph to find out, okay, use coins is obviously not really fast. But of course, at the time of writing the code, nobody really cared and didn't profile it. So now we get to the point where they're probably going to spend 10 or 100 coins at once. And it's getting worse. And it's not getting worse. That's problematic. So yeah, 100 is the more realistic example, because when they initially said 1 coin would be 100 euros, now if they want to pay 100, it takes them 100 coins to use. So we see it's already getting bigger and bigger, and after a while, if the data set also grows larger and larger and larger, it's really getting bad. So here there is a similar problem as with the creating of the coins, that there were a lot of calls to MySQL, trying getting and updating things. And so this is kind of the bad algorithm thing, or just bad decisions made at the time of writing and didn't occur to be a problem. So this is still relatively simple. Then we have a real application. And here we've tried to find a slow part. So our usual HTML rendering thing is like 300 something milliseconds if we get the list. Yeah, we get this Ajax call that's being slow, so we could look into that. But our usual pages are around 300 to 400 milliseconds. And then you have one interesting page. So if you do contact us, I hope I took the fix out. Well, fix. Suddenly it takes 3 seconds for a contact page where you assume this should be fast by default. No, it isn't. And here, profiling is getting harder. Because, oh, yep, thanks. Yeah, so we see this part. So the first part is object, is the initialization part. So we know it will be this fast. And now it is not very obviously at first sight what is being really slow. So in this case, you need some insight in the application itself, or in this case, how Magento does things. And in this case, I know that the render result should not be this big, because it should do only one thing: get the cached information and give it back to me. So this is a trigger for us to go and look for an issue. Why don't we get a cached page from here? So maybe it's the first time I hit it. So let's try it again. Yeah, doesn't seem to be better. So it's better, 2 seconds. Yeah, maybe that's good enough. But if somebody knows this, that your application is very slow on the contact page and it will not get really below 2 seconds, that's interesting. So what's happening here? I can't go in all the details, but because we already have some knowledge about this Magento application, the render result is too long. So here we already know to search for caching. Something is blocking caching, so it's not getting faster than 2 seconds. So every default Magento installation you do up to the latest version has this problem. So I do a fast forward jump because I go in the configuration of Magento and I find cacheable is false in a block. So this already requires some information about how Magento works, but so it's combining blocks and makes you a page, whatever. So this one block with cacheable false triggers a problem, because it makes sure that your full page caching is not working. So it always will have to re-render the page. So if I change this to true, cache flush, because the configuration is cached, it will take forever to load because it has to recreate the cache. So now we get an unrealistic result because it's building the cache. So we'll see it about 7. Whoa, it's worse. Okay, then it's 16 seconds. So, but if we now, yeah, it's large. Yeah. But now if we refresh, it's fast. So if we go check, it's in the same order of our other pages. The fix in Magento is use an extension that uses Google reCAPTCHA or something, so your page is cacheable. So this is finding a slow part in your application. And it's not always the obvious page that's slow. Oops. Yeah, try to go back where I was. Uh-oh. Yeah, I have to switch screens. Yeah, okay. Wrong side again. And I did it wrong. Of course. So we did all this and whoop, did more. Yes, we're back. So we have some popular bottlenecks. I've shown you slow code. But there are other examples of really insane codes. Like I saw something generating pi to 200,000 numbers behind in decimal numbers. So it's insane. In the example, I didn't go into detail, but in the example there were bad SQL queries also. So there was an update statement where there were no keys defined on the where. So the example was doing where spent is null, do an update, but there was no key defined on spent. So if you have the key, it probably will be a lot faster. So also doing too many queries, that was obvious. This has some external factors too. So usually if you have a lot of disk I/O, it could be anything. We had crashes because of a backup that was running and causing a massive amount of disk I/O, triggering some sort of snowball effect, dragging down the whole application. Someone created a new cron job or a new worker that's really blows the lid off everything. Could cause you a lot of problems. And we also, something you have to be aware of is if you go to a server and you see it's using a lot of swap, you're gonna have to check things because it's going to slow you down massively. You also have interesting external services. We had to work with services that were really responding in 4 seconds, and for their use case it's usable, but they expect our application to respond in less than 300 milliseconds. That was not really adding up. And then you get this. Your site goes down or is massively slow. The first things you have to do is don't panic and don't try to look at your application. First, try to fix the problem just by throwing in whatever you have. So add more CPUs to it, add more memory to it, so you can mitigate the initial problem, block malicious actors. So usually you will get, some range of IP addresses is like calling us 100,000 times a second. Maybe that's not really intended. And then when you get your system normalized, then you can try to find the slow parts. Because if your system is under stress, profiling information you will receive from an APM like New Relic will be wrong. It will not give you an accurate result where the problem is found or exists. So once you have your system normalized, then you should start profiling. So here we can add some extra useful tools in production. Please use monitoring, something like Zabbix, ELK stack, in Isinga, Nagios, whatever. use an APM like New Relic or Tideways. ATOP is a very useful tool because if you know ATOP, who knows you ATOP? Maybe you're more into systems. But ATOP is, can keep you a history of what your system was, how your system was performing, how it was using swap, how it was using memory, how it was using a CPU, what processes were doing, whatever they were doing at the time you're under stress. So you can have this history at the time, you can look at it and go find the actual cause of your problem. So it will not always be someone who is attacking you. It can be whatever, a cron job that's running, but some tool like ATOP will give you this additional information and can give you additional information that some other monitoring tool could not have. Sometimes strace is interesting, but lately I'm seeing more like when I'm starting to use strace, it's already too late, so then it's no longer useful. So important is try to find the slower things in your development. I personally use XHProf and XHUE because it fits our use case, because we have New Relic with an APM on our production servers. But if you have another use case where you could use Tideways or you could use Blackfire, just pick the tool that fits your need. So again, don't trust profiles from systems under stress, and make your popular pages cacheable. It will help you a lot. And in the end, tools like Blackfire will help you, for example, to go and profile periodically. That was hard. Because they have some built-in functionality, for example, to go and profile your code while you're running your unit tests or whatever. So you can have additional information and get extra info before you throw your stuff on a production server. Are there any questions?
My question is how to use the mic.
It is not working. I tried. So you told us that you use profiling on productive machines after the machine is cooling down and you have scaled it up vertically and everything seems to run fine. Then you activate the profiling. Is it?
It's New Relics, yeah.
Not a problem because of the overhead, or because
no.
Some kind of a reference machine where we can mirror data and we put the stress.
Yeah, so usually what my approach is at the time of the problem, I try to find out or fix it by throwing things at it. Once it's sort of settled, New Relic will give still some traces of things that are slow, and then you have to look in the tool then. If it's still under pressure, it's not going to be good, what it's giving. But once it starts normalizing, we will still get traces and we'll have a better idea where to look at. Usually I'm going to use New Relic to have an idea where to look. Then I'm going to take production data, put it on my machine, put everything in production mode, and try to look at the points of interest I found from New Relic to try to determine how to make it better. Okay. So usually, indeed, you will have to use some sort of production data, if it's really too big, it should be realistic, because some problems need production database to get the real clue where something is going wrong. More things, questions?
Do you have any experience maybe running profiling on CI? How is that as a stable environment for maybe periodically?
Sorry, we don't do that. So I read that Blackfire supports it to have profiling during CI, during unit testing. But personally, I didn't use it yet. So that's probably why I'm still using XHProf with XHUE. Well, the main reason for that is that I have New Relic with some information. I don't think I would go with XHProf, but yeah, maybe if I have more time and look into Blackfire, it could be interesting to have these results and see if it's triggering, if you see a sudden increase somewhere. But yeah, then you also need to have the proper coverage of the proper locations.
Do you run any stress tests, or just to simulate maybe a huge load of?
Yeah, AB or Siege can be used. So when I'm trying to determine if the website will be, usually it's a website, it will be set okay, then we take a list of popular pages or pages that are of interest for us or for the customer, and put it in Siege and do 25 parallel, 50 parallel, and hit it. But not on a production machine. So, but yeah, we run some tests local or on a staging environment.
So is it still feasible to check the profiling results of all those requests somehow, or?
It's hard. This is if you put it under stress, it's searching for a needle in a haystack. So, but when with XHUE, you will get an overview of what were the slowest requests and what were the most memory-consuming requests. And if you have like 1 million requests, maybe it's a start to start just looking at those and try to figure out if it was just your system that was overloaded. So if you do some load tests, you have to balance it. So it still has to be reasonable. Once you're just DOSing it, it's no longer useful. So, but yeah, we do that on staging or local machine.
It's gonna be strange to have a Xdebug on production.
Yeah, but usually I don't think anyone puts Xdebug on production. I think someone someone suggested it.
If you wonder, don't do it.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe if you could split it and have some testing machine where you can direct 1%, depending on how large scale your website is, 1% or 5% of your traffic to it. You could maybe do it, but I think you will probably go for tools like Blackfire, New Relic, Tideways, or something to have this information.
I think you can test before deployment if you combine, for example, the hard tests and your tools.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, probably. So thank you, and I do some other stuff. So if you want to debug with Vim, find me. If you want to talk further about profiling or performance or whatever, find me. So thank you.